Hey everybody, it's Mr. K. Welcome to week 3 of Learning Music Online. This week we're going to learn a little bit more about notes on the music staff. Last week we discussed the staff and the basic symbols for music. We had the staff, we had the treble clef, and we had the bass clef. We also started talking about where the notes fit on the 5 lines and 4 spaces. So let's look at that a little bit more this week. So we looked at our lines, right? Our 5 lines. Start from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. And we got E, G, B, D, F. Remember my favorite, every great big dragon flies. And with our spaces, we got F, A, C, E, or face, right? Then this is great, but it only leaves us 9 notes for the music we want to listen to, or 9 notes to make music. Interestingly enough, music uses more than 9 notes. Those of you who listen to more popular music know there are singers who can sing super duper high, like Ariana Grande or Alicia Keys or Justin Bieber. And there are singers who can sing super low, like the lead singer from The Who and one of my favorite pop stars, Pink. Now, to get to these higher or lower notes, we have to add another type of music symbol. Now, this is just another line, but it's one that we add to the staff. Okay, you can see the little guy right down here. This is called a ledger line. And what the ledger line does is it gives us the ability to put even more notes on the page above and below the staff. Let's start with under the staff, which is where the most important parts of music tend to be anyway. We can hang a note off the bottom of our first line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can hang it off of here. Now it looks a little funny, but again, it helps us to play lower notes. If I want to go even lower, I add my ledger line. You see it? And then I can add my note on that, which is even lower than this one. Now we have to figure out what to name these extra notes that we've added. E, G, B, D, F, right? E, G, B, D, F, and F, A, C, E only apply to my lines and spaces on our regular staff. But if we look at the staff this way, all right, we can see that everything's in alphabetical order. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Right? And right down here, it wraps around again, right? We run out of notes, we just start over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so if we start at the bottom and go up, we can see E, F, G. Okay, and it goes over again. So, this works even if we go down. Okay, let's look at this guy hanging off the bottom again. If the bottom line, right, our line number 1 is E, and we're going down, remember, going up goes the regular way. E, F, G, A, B, C for our alphabet. If we're going down, then it's going to go backwards. So if we look at this, we have G, F, E. We just have to look at an alphabetical order. And if what comes before E in our alphabet, well, that would make this note a D. Okay, we now have a new note right here, and we know its name, so we can play lower than our regular 5 lines and 4 spaces. So let's go even lower to this guy on the ledger line. Okay, since we're going down again, and this note is right up against the D here, then we have to go to the letter before D, which is a C. Okay, now the first ledger here is C, and it's an important note because it's one in music that we call middle C. It's the note piano players look for when they approach a piano to perform or practice, and it's a note that music writers or composers like me look for when we're writing new music or creating new works. Okay, so these are the 2 that we're going to just look at for now below the staff. The one that hangs right off it is D, and this guy hanging out in space is C. So now let's look at the notes above the staff. We can start, kind of like the other one, with the note that sits on top of the staff, like the D hangs off of the bottom. This time, though, since we're going up the staff, we want to go forward in our music alphabet. So we're looking at C, D, E, F. And since this is right next to it, we're going to look for the next letter in our music alphabet, which would be a G. That's a terrible G, Mr. Kiefner. You're terrible at this. Okay? The top line is F, and so that's a G. The G is a note on top of the staff for our treble clef. So now we can continue on. We know this top one is G. So now I could add my ledger line, remember that one there, and I put a note on it, I get the next note. Well, if we remember, G is the last letter of our music alphabet, and all we have to do is start our alphabet over. So the first note on this ledger line would be an A. Okay, and from there, things continue to follow the alphabet. I can add another note here. It's a little shiny, sorry. So it sits on top of the ledger line, and since it's right after that one, this is a B. And the cool thing about ledger lines is I can keep adding them. So I'll put a second ledger line up there. Can you see that? And then I'll put a note on it. And since this one's A and this one's B, what's next in our alphabet? C. That's our high C. Okay, this is one that the trumpets tend to have problems playing, and tends to be a whole lot of fun for a lot of different instruments. Okay, this is where we're going to stop. Okay, the high ones A, B, and C, and then the low ones D and C. Okay, so I want to thank you for listening to the boring part of this week's lesson. So now let's have some fun. That's right, it's the return of Staff Wars. Ha 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 ha. In the same post in Google Classroom that you had here, I linked the page to the download of Staff Wars. Okay, it's a free download for computers, and I think it's a 99-cent or a $2 download for mobile devices like your cell phone or like your iPad. This is a great way to practice knowing where your notes are on the treble clef staff. It's the only one we're working on right now. You can adjust the range to go from middle C all the way to high C we just learned about. Okay, so what I want you to do is get that, and I want you to get cracking. My challenge to you, this is your assignment. My challenge to you is you're going to get the highest score you can, take a screenshot, and then underneath this Google post, there's an assignment for Google Classroom. Take the screenshot and submit it. I want to see who can reach the top of the charts. Have fun blasting those notes. Be good, and I will see you next week.